Perfect. Thank you. So, yeah, welcome everyone to this introduction session to AG5, plus a sneak peek into the alert list. I hope you can all see and hear me well. If not, please let me know in the comments or the chat, I should rather say. Um, Maybe a few words on myself. So, my name is Timo. I'm part of the onboarding team here in AG5. I'm with the firm for about a couple of years now, and my job consists of, yeah, onboarding new customers, meaning to get you up and running with AG5. So basically, if you start using AG5, first meeting will be with me or one of my colleagues. We sit down, discuss your data, your needs, get your existing data into the system, train you, and basically set you up so that you can start using AG5. And yeah, so in that role, I do regular trainings and basically we're going to give you a sneak peek into AG5 and what the training looks like. Maybe a few words on AG5 itself. So what we do is we help to visualize you skill gaps. You have to comply with all kinds of requirements, being it government requirements, quality requirements, etc. And you have a lot of people that you need to ensure that they can work productively and safely. So therefore, they need to have certain trainings, and AG5 basically enables you to visualize that in a smart and interactive way, and has a lot of advantages compared to just trying to host that in an Excel sheets. What you can expect from today. So roughly 1 hour training. So basically, I'm going to walk you all the basic functionalities of AG5. Then we have 10 minutes for a Q&A session. So if you have any questions after I showed you everything, please let me know. But also in the meantime, if something's not clear or you have follow-up questions, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat at any time. And afterwards, we're going to share the slides and the recording with all the participants so that you can take a second look later if you want so. Yeah, I think my colleague Larissa is going to launch a poll soon, basically how you're currently managing skill and trainings compliance. So if it's in Excel sheets, different other systems, and of course, we are curious to know what you're currently using. Yes, so what to expect, basically a full basic training. So I show you all the ingredients you need in order to create your own skill metrics in AG5. And in addition to that, I will give you a sneak peek into the alert list. So a bit of an advanced feature there. General, how we do trainings is with a train-the-trainer approach, so that we identify the key users who will use the full stack of the software, and we train them quite extensively, so with basic and advanced training. And in those, we show you everything there's for you to know on AG5, and with also Q&A sessions, so that you're after the trainings, you're fully confident in using AG5, and then you can pass that knowledge on within your organization, because we believe that it's best to train a few people rather well, and you're then equipped to spread that knowledge than dragging, I don't know, maybe a shift lead or a line manager through 2 hours of training while they only need 10 minutes of that. So this is the approach and quite successful approach we use for training customers in AG5. Before we get started, a few concepts. So what we need to do, what we need in order to create the skill metrics are employees. So that will be on one X. Then we have our skills on the other X. Skills for us is really an umbrella term. So it can be trainings, competencies, Schulungen, whatever there is to know or to be able to do. This is what we have under skills. And then there are certain requirements, right? So people need to be trained in certain skills. This is also what we're trying to visualize here. And then there are the results. So who knows what? And based on that, we calculate, okay, how compliant are your teams, your lines, your departments, etc. And this is what you can then visualize in AG5. In detail, I'm going to walk you through how to create and manage employees, also skills, how to sort them in your libraries, how to manage the organization structure where you can assign requirements, And last but not least, we're going to do some fun stuff and create some matrices and add results. And again, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat at any time. And yeah, in addition, I really hope we have enough time for that. I was going to give you a look into the alert list where you can really start proactively planning. So if you have skills that expire, you can really take a look into the future. If you have an audit upcoming in a month, in a year, how will the world of compliance for your team, your organization look like, so that you can really start to proactively plan for any audits there may be. So I'm going to hop into yeah, the AG5 environment. This is basically how it looks like, and where you land is basically the matrix overview. Again, pretty empty at the moment. We will change that. So this is really the objective of the basic training, to equip you with all the knowledge that you need to create a matrix yourself. Again, we're going to discuss the employees, skills, and the organization to really get you the cooking ingredients in order to prepare metrics by yourself. So first, the employees. Employee tab is basically just a flat list of the employees. It's filled with some dummy data here. And in this environment with 129 employees, by default, they are filtered on active. So only employees that have an active contract are shown. And I can add a bunch of filters to really yeah, search for the grouping of employees that I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for employees that are reporting to a particular manager, I can filter on that. Or if I want to see basically who's working in different department, etc., all kind of filtering options, of course, I can also search. If I found the employee that I'm looking for, I can click on it. And then I see what we refer to as a portfolio page, meaning here we see yeah, the detailed overview of the employee. So here we have Ryan. First of all, we see all the basic HR data. So basically his name, email address, contract period, and manager. I can edit all these things here easily. There is the option to integrate with any HR system. So this is all getting automated, but at the moment I'm showing you basically what it looks like to manage this manually. And so for Ryan, basically we see that his contract started 1st of February. And he is currently working as a logistics expert in the logistics team 1, and he's operating the RT machine. First, I would like to focus really on the basic HR stuff. So, right, everything is customizable. And yeah, if unfortunately it didn't work out with Ryan and yeah, his contract gets terminated, we can just adjust the contract end type here. And basically what it does, it archives Ryan. The advantage of working in that way rather than just deleting him is that it keeps all his skills, his skill record, so that basically if you have a audit coming up that is, yeah, maybe looking at data from the last year, right, then the skills from Ryan would be relevant. So in that way, the data is not lost, but basically it's archived. With ending the contract here, Ryan is removed from all the matrices, from all the search functionalities, etc. So we do not clutter the system with legacy employees, but we still keep the records. If we decide to rehire him again, right, we just remove the contract end date, and then we have him active again here. If he is inactive, then he's also automatically removed from the employee list. So you see here currently, because it's by default filtered on active, it's showing 128 out of the 129 employees that we have. And if I change that, I see here that we have Ryan. So, and only if we're really sure, right, we have no longer use for this data, or there is, right, the time that there's data privacy kicking in, right, we need to delete it, then we can very simply delete his profile. We'll double check. But for now, we're going to keep him and use him as an example. More interesting than just the regular HR data is, of course, the position. And the position itself is really kind of an AG5 specific concept, because often position means, okay, it's my job role. But in AG5, the position is really can be defined by multiple tags. So it can be just the job role. But here we have an example that his position really indicates, okay, what does he work and where? So his role, his job role, is a logistics expert, level 1. He's part of the logistics team 1, and he's operating a particular machine, the RT machine. And from all this come certain requirements. Let me refresh this. And basically, I can see here that he needs to have a certain number of requirements coming from his position. And if I would change his position, right? So for example, he operates a different machine. Then his set of required skills changes. And this is really, in essence, the nice thing about AG5. There might be requirements that come from the team, right? If you're part of the logistics team, this is what you need to know. Or if you're part of the role of a logistic expert, this is what you need to know. And if you're operating a certain machine, this is also what you need to know. Combining that in a very simple spreadsheet is, I would say, rather impossible. And here, basically, everything comes together. So I have always the full overview that Ryan has to comply with 27 requirements. 1 is coming from his team, 22 are coming from his role, 4 are coming from the machine he's operating. And again, if I change things, right, I'm going to edit his position. He's working on a different machine. I select a new machine for him, so maybe the Fusion Pro. Then it automatically updates and then always see, okay, what does he need to comply with? Currently, he has a lot of gaps. So let's assume that I have trained him to have a customer focus. Then I can start adding results here and say, okay, hey, that one has been trained. We do have a validity for the customer focus, so it will expire rather soon. And now we have added the result, and it is already in warning period. I'm going to show you in the when we talk about the skills, what that means in detail. And from here, right, with also different skills that not only have pass fail, but that are basically a multi-level rating scale. If I start adding results here, I can decide which level, and then I can see now this is the required level. This is the achievement. It was achieved today, so we have a valid result. This is basically what you can see in the portfolio. And again, right, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. We do have time for that, and I know that that can be overwhelming and that we're rushing through stuff. So always let me know if there are any questions. In addition, let me smuggle myself into this repository. So I'm going to create a new employee. And what we just need is a first name and a last name. Right, the rest is optional. So I can give myself a different contract type. And let's say I started here 1st of April. It looks rather empty. Why is that? Because I don't have a position yet. So I will add myself a position. And we have 2 different views. One is a flat list where I can type in if I already know what I'm looking for, or at the beginning, right, I use a tree list that guides me a bit better through the different text that I can use. So I need to be part of a department or a team. So I will again be here part of the logistics team 1. Makes sense for me to be part of one of the logistics role. So just give myself a logistic expert 2 role. I can already see here 27 requirements are attached with this role. And maybe I'm also I'm assigned to a particular machine. Maybe the RT machine here. And we can also see it comes with a lot of requirements working that machine. And now if I click on save, AG5 calculates, okay, what are the list of requirements that I need to fulfill. And now I mean, now I'm an admin here, can do that myself, but usually the manager would start maybe adding a result here and starts adding skill results. This is basically everything that you need to know when it comes to employee. So basically check mark for the first cooking ingredients in order to prepare skill metrics. We have our employees ready. Second one is the skills. And again, skills, certificates, trainings, soft skills, hard skills, whatever there is that we have under skills. And also here I see a flat list of all our skills. Can also search for different types, right? I can say, hey, show me all my certificates, and then I see them. Or I can search. And I think we had the customer focus. Let's use this one. So with a name and a code. The code enables us to structure those skills better, right? So if you want to have them in a given order, you can use the code. We have a rating scale, right? So the customer focus is rated by pass and fail. As we've seen, for example, with the languages, we have also the option to basically add an infinite amount of rating scales. So if you have, for example, a very common rating scale that I often see is three-way, right? So can work with supervision, can work without supervision, and can train to supervise others. And this is something we usually discuss during the onboarding. How do you rate certain skills? And then we help you adding the rating scale and start importing your skills. We also see here that the customer focus has a validity and a warning period. And what that basically means is that if I add a result today, as I can do here, for example, for myself, right? I'm going to add a result straight here. It strays code into warning period because it's only valid for a month. And the warning period is also a month. So if something is in warning, the icon will change and it will alert us, hey, there is something expiring, so please take appropriate action. If I change that, so I've always the option to change anything here, right? So maybe regulation changes. So something is now valid for a year. Then I can change that here. And the system automatically calculates the new expiration dates for the skills. And since we said we want to be warned 1 month before, those go out of warning and we are compliant and happy. Also, for each skill, I see here the employee status, so everyone who needs to have that, if they're either green or red, or here if it has expired in the meantime, but they do not no longer need it. And I also see here, right, for which groupings that we have, is this required? Let me also use maybe one of the languages. I think we had English as an example, language English. And here we can see, right, that we have a different rating scale. So this is, my apologies if we have any people from outside of the European Union. I think it's very EU specific that you have this rating scale from A1 to C2, right? Depending what your level of English is. And here we could, for example, further define, okay, what does it mean to have it on a level 1 or to be fluent on a level 2? So that helps if different managers rate a skill that you achieve consistency across the board. Also here, right, if that is something that expires, maybe with language, not the most common thing, say, hey, I need to be retrained in English every 3 years, and 2 months before that I want to be warned, I would set that here. And again, I see here the employee status of all my employees and see for which groupings I have the language skill is required. If I want to add a new skill, very similar to how I work with the employees. I click on create skill. I need to give it a name. I think first aid training is a very common one. That is, yeah, if you have anything to do with manufacturing, usually you're required to have some first aiders. I can give it a description, right? What it's about, and I need to give it a rating scale. Here we do have some pre-selected rating scales, but again, it's fully customizable. If you need a particular rating scale, it can be set up in AG5. First aid training, usually I have it or I don't. It's like a driver's license, so I would select the achieved failed. and I would say it's a certificate. Usually first aid training is valid for a couple of years, and maybe 3 months before it expires, I want to be warned so that I can assign the needed colleague to a new training. Because maybe, right, if I don't have the required number of first aiders, then I cannot maybe operate a certain business, a certain production line, etc. So I want to always make sure that I basically never come into the area where I have my reds, where I'm basically incompliant, but I want to see a yellow where I can still schedule training and make sure that I'm compliant in the future. And with that, I've created a new skill for the description, right? I can maybe you have certain information stored on a SharePoint. You can link, of course, to your SharePoint and then have further description there. Or if you have, I don't know, a set of standard operating procedures, any documentation, right, that people need to follow, you can always upload an attachment. And how I make a first aid training now require as a requirement for certain groupings, this is what I will show you in the next step. And again, always the reminder, if there are any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. So the third tab we have is the organization. And here we have the libraries where we sort our skills, which I will show you now. And this is basically to make your life easier to create your matrices, right? If you remember from the intro here, what we always do is we select a certain set of employees. So again, that could be my logistics team, that could be my particular job role, whole department, etc. It's always a grouping. And here the same we do with the skills. So basically particular folder. This is exactly what we're setting up here. So I could say maybe show me my entire organization against all the certificates, or here for the skills, right? We have subfolders so that I can really build the matrices that I'm looking for. And rather than having one big ass matrix where I can't see anything, I can really build targeted matrices and also then share them with the relevant people so that I always know, okay, people that are using the metrics can actually make sense of it because they only see what they need to see. And of course, I'm also complying with any GDPR requirements so that I basically only share the relevant information with the people who need to have access there. If I've added a new skill, so for example, the first aid, I want to sort it into those folders. Everything here works fairly simple with drag and drop. So I can search for the skill here, and I can just drag and drop it into the right folder. So for me, that one would be a certificate. So I will dump it into the certificate folder, and now it's here. And now every time I select a matrix where I say, hey, show me all my certificates, first aid will show up. Also, if I want to further structure, because now I have 20 certificates here, maybe I want to further structure them, I could add a new folder here, give it a particular name, and then start sorting in the skills as you want. So it really depends if you have 20 skills, 200 or 2000. Depending on that, we work together with you to come up with a proper structure and yeah, rearrange your skills in a way that it makes easier for you to generate matrices. This is it for the libraries, right? Very simple folder structure, same as you have it on your Windows desktop, folders and folders, so you can actually structure larger amounts of data. Second to that is the organization structure, and now we will start to assign requirements. So we have 3 different organization structure, and they tie in with the text we've seen so far. So also here we do a folder structure. So we have the organization on top, then we have certain departments, and underneath we do have our teams, in which we do have our people assigned, and we do have requirements. So here I have my logistics team 1 consisting of 12 people, now also including myself. And we have defined a requirement here. So everybody who needs to, who is working in the logistics team 1 needs to know the ICC know-how. Also is stated here, all positions, meaning all people, that are tagged with logistics team 1, so that are part of that grouping, require this skill. What I can do is I can start adding more skills. So again, I'm going to use English as an example. For whatever reason, I need my logistics team 1 to speak some English. So I can add a skill requirement here. I can search for the skill that I'm interested in. Again, I just drag and drop it. So I could also say, hey, everybody who's working in the entire logistics department needs to speak English. So then the requirements trickle down, or say, hey, for the team 3, they are more focused on other parts of the world that's not so relevant. But the logistics team 1 is focusing on the US, UK. So therefore, we need to have a certain level of English. And as you can see now, since the this skill has a different rating scales, I can also select basically on which level do I want them to be able to speak English. So, hey, maybe B2 is what I'm looking for. And now if I navigate to, say, my profile here, you see now that English is required on level 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 6, right? And why is that? Because it is a requirement for a lot of my positions, including the team that I'm working in. What I can also do, it's maybe a handy thing for some of you, is that if I add the first aid training to the team, that training everybody in first aid might be a bit of an overkill, and this is also not what the law requires, but say, hey, per team, you maybe need just 2 first aiders. What I can then do is click on the skill and say, actually, I add a rule and I do not need all employees to have that, but I can select, okay, I need 3 people to have this, right? Same also here, I can define, hey, I need 4 people who can speak it on level B2. And in addition, I need 1 who's really good, who can maybe teach others, right? Native level. And oops, and set it to 1. And now I would require 4 people on this level, 1 on the highest level. And this is basically how I could build up the requirements. And again, I can use this for all of the org structures that we have. We can add more org structures. So I'm working with customers who basically have a fairly straightforward org structure, maybe a team and a job role. Work with other customers who have really complex org structures with 9 or 10 tags, right, including cost centers, shifts, everything. And from all of those organization structures, we can either draw requirements and we can generate matrices for that. So if I then hop back maybe to the roles and requirements, right, we have here our job roles. So if I want to add an additional requirement to all of the logistics expert, I can add this one here and say, hey, they need to know the BHV course, just dragging and dropping. And also if I want to add a new job role, right, we've extended, so I can just drag and drop a new grouping in here and give it a name. I don't know, maybe we have a senior logistics specialist. And this one is a role. And now I could start to define, okay, what does a senior logistics specialist need to know? And I could now switch myself into this role, right? I'm no longer a logistic expert 2, but I am now a senior logistics specialist. And again, with that, my set of requirement keeps changing. So I'm always up to date depending on which role I'm in. Just switching myself back. Again, fairly easy. And I'm a logistic expert 2 again. and it adjusts my skill requirements. And this is how you manage your requirements in AG5. And again, they can be for all the organization structures you can think of, being at a department, team, we can do shifts. And the last 2 years, there's, I would say, nothing I've not seen. We can mostly accompany any requirements you have. We can combine requirements, etc. But don't want to overwhelm with that. But the main takeaway that I want to give you is that we can also, next to having something required for everybody, say, okay, it's also required for just a few people. So far, not seeing any questions in the chat. So that for me means either I'm doing rather well or rather poorly. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know. And then we go to create some matrices. So again, matrix tab is really the heart of AG5. And in order to create a matrix, we want to click on creating new matrix. And again, here we first select the grouping of employees that we want to see. Again, flat list, if I'm really sure what I'm looking for, can also search for it, or I use the tree list, which guides me a bit better through the different groupings that I have. So let's assume we want to build an overview for the logistics team, right? So I select the logistics team as the grouping. So we will select those 12 people from the logistics team. I can further group them, right? I know that they all have job roles, so I want to have them grouped by their role. And the next step, I need to select the skills that I want to see, right? So this part here. And now I hope it becomes a bit clearer why it makes sense to have a library with folders and subfolders and a proper structure. Because now I can do two things. I can say, hey, I have 39 skills and certificates, so basically show me all of them. So I can select the parent folder, the highest folder that includes everything. And now I will be creating a matrix showing 12 people against 39 skills. System, based on what I've selected, creates an automatic name. Can, of course, adjust it. And it's a skills and compliance, skills and certificates overview, maybe. If I click on save, it now generates the metrics. I personally prefer if basically the axes are switched, and this is something I can, of course, customize. So now I have all my people here on the left side and all the skills on the top side. As you can see, even though it doesn't sound a lot, like just 12 employees, 39 skills, I would say it's rather a big metrics, and right, we really need to make sure, okay, are we seeing what we want to see? And you can see here, right, with the certificates grouped and with all the skill grouped with their subgroupings and subgroupings. So everything is here. What I see now here are different icons, and at first might be a bit overwhelming, but once you start using AG5, you will become very familiar with that. It's also fairly easy. We have a little cheat sheet here, so you can always see, okay, what do the different icons mean? The blue circle around it indicates the requirement, right? So I see here for Ryan, he needs to know the machine line know-how on a level 2. Right? So because the blue circle spans 2/4 of the icon here, and he's also complying with that because the filling indicates, okay, he has a result on level 2, and it's green, so he's complying with that. On the other hand, right, we see here for the P2P and organization structure skill, we see that he's not complying there. This is a skill that has only pass fail. So therefore it has basically the icon with this little exclamation mark. Full blue circle here means, okay, it's required on level 1, 100%. Doesn't have that. Let's assume we've provided training, right? We educated him and we can now add a result. So I click on add result. I select the level here, since it's just pass fail, he has achieved it. I can add an attachment, right? So maybe there's a training certificate that an auditor wants to see. You can upload this one here and have everything then in one place. I added it and now it's here. Maybe for Olivia, right? The machine line know-how, again, training. And it always shows why it's required. We add a result. maybe this was more of a basic training, so we consider her now a beginner. Again, we could upload an attachment, click on save, and now we see again, it is required on a level 2, right? So with the blue circle scanning 2/3. However, she has only an achievement on level 1, right? Therefore, we have this green little icon here, only spending 1/3, but right, we still see some red, so she's not compliant. Again, a few weeks ahead, we train her now to be a bit more than just a beginner. So we add a result, advanced, and we click on save, and we always have the full history, who basically was trained when, and with which level. Let's assume, okay, and here basically we see the first aid certificate. We said we want that 3 out of the team know it, and this is how it's displayed, right? So we have basically a group-wide requirement. So if I start now adding a first aid training for Ryan, again, indicates it's valid for 2 years, so I know when it's going to expire. Could upload the attachment, click on save. It's in here. Or maybe we're at a first aid workshop and I want to add multiple results. I add a result. The default should be that they've passed it. And now I can adjust it. So maybe a few people didn't participate and maybe someone failed. And this in one go, I've added a bunch of results and we say, hey, we're now way more than complying. So we have now 7 results here for the first aid training. The only 3 are required. So basically, we have 4 people kind of overtrained here. What I would like to show you next is, well, we said, okay, with a big ass matrix here, maybe a bit too much. So how you can create a smaller matrix. So again, we're going to add a new matrix. We're choosing the same team because with the team we're happy. Those are the people we want to see. And in this step, we maybe want to only select the certificates, right? So I want to have basically an overview of my team, and then do they have all the needed certificates that they need in order to operate? Could also then share that with a colleague who is tasked with making sure that they are compliant with the certificates. And then I say here, okay, with logistics team 1, and this is the certificates overview. I click on save, and I see the overview here. What I do not like about this is that there's a lot of white, right? So there's a lot of stuff showing that is not really relevant, and I do not want this. So first, but this is just a habit of mine, I switch the axis because I just enjoy this visual more. And then every time I'm not really happy in the metrics with what I'm seeing, I can go to the 3 dots and then edit it, and then it will walk me through the process again. So maybe I say, hey, actually, I really want to send them sort by their job role. But what I really want to make sure is I want to get rid of all those white circles because don't need to see them. Basically, it's distracting me. So I can say, hey, show me only the people with a result or a requirement. So it's a logical or, so either this or both. Yeah. And same for skills, right? So only show me skills if they're either required or if we have result. And now we click on save. And now we see it really shrinks down our metrics. So only shows us what's really relevant. Here we have some skills shown because Brit and Noah, they have requirements for that. If I click on it, I also see why they're operating certain machines, right? And they're for operating those machines, they require the certificate. So therefore, those are shown, even though it's white here. You will not see a column where you have entirely white. Those are all filtered out. And we see the first 8 because this is, again, the group-wide requirement we had. So this is now a nice, simple metrics I could see that I could share with a colleague, say, hey, right, make sure that you keep an eye on that we're complying with all our certificates. And then we can start adding here results and make sure that we are complying with the requirements that we have. Can do the same now for the skills that I have. Again, choosing the logistics team. Again, group it by a job role. And then again, this is why I use proper folders. I now select only the skills, not the certificates. And here I say skills overview, and I change the axis. And again, I only want to see really what is relevant. So I filter on only if there's a requirement or result. And now I see, again, fairly little white space, and I see, okay, these are my skills. These are the people that I have in my team. This is what they need to comply with. And now I can actually start working with it. And if I navigate now to the matrices, right, we've now started to populate it a little bit, only focusing here on the logistics team one, right? You can do that, of course, for every other team, for job roles, for the different machines. But to keep it nice and easy, we use team here. It's hopefully something you guys can relate to. And yeah, now I have the full overview. Oh, sorry. Now I have the full overview. The skills and certificates full overview here, right? The big S matrix that might be a bit too much, but of course can be valuable. Then I have my certificates, and then I have my skills overview here. And those, if I would be, for example, the team manager of logistics team one, these could be the three matrices that are getting shared with me. So I can really take a good grip of my team. What do they need to know? Where they're compliant, and where do I need to add trainings? That is the regular basic training that we provide. So I hope it gave you a good first glimpse in what you need to know in order to yeah, generate your own matrices in AG5. Again, we discussed how you add employees. We discussed how you can add skills, how you sort those skills that you newly add in your libraries, how you assign skills as requirements for different groupings, and then how you can generate certain matrices. In addition to what we have regular in the basic training, let me show you the alert list, because it's also a very handy feature, especially if you have a lot of skills that yeah, can expire and can be quite frankly very hard to track if you don't have any interactive software for that. And here we have the alert list. This is a little bell icon here. If I click it, I get a overview of, at the moment, all my skills and skill gaps. So I'm seeing here all the skills where I'm not compliant, so we have problems, maybe could also call it skill gaps or incompliances. And here I see, right, where I would need to start training people. I can also, of course, filter now, right, what we have, for example, in warning. So where we are at the moment still complying, but those skills will expire in the future. Again, right, we have a lot of skills here, so maybe this is a bit overwhelming. So we want to filter it, can add all kinds of filters. So I can add just to focus on a particular employee, to focus on any grouping that we have. So for a particular machine, for workstation, etc. Or also maybe just for a particular skill. So say I want to say, hey, how's this doing? Right, I have currently 8 people where we have skill gaps. Nobody's warning. 3 are fine. But what's also particularly handy is I can open this directly pre-filtered from one of the matrices. So if I have my matrix here, can navigate to the 3 dots and say, hey, show me this one in an alert list. And it comes pre-filtered based on the metrics that I've been looking in, gives me a different visual, lets me focus on other things, right? So I see, okay, actually with 120 skill gaps where we have requirements that we're currently not meeting, and I could like further filter it down. And now I could really start preparing some action, like adding planning. Planning is something we're going to show you in an advanced training. Basically, your intent in order to close the skill gap, because now I've been adding results left and right, but usually, right, I need to plan something, I need to provide a training, only then I can add a result. And what I can also do, I can project into the future. And let me then again remove the filter here so that we do have some skills that also have a validity. And maybe I know that I have an audit coming up in, let's say, 6 months. Then I can say, hey, how does my company look like in 6 months? And we can see here that a lot of a lot of skills go out of warning period and our problems will increase, but also our list of complying of fine requirements will increase. So I also get a timeline here. So maybe if I just filter on the warning period, then I also see here what is the given timeline, right? So we have for Olivia a lot of certificates that are fine, but in 6 months' time, or in this selected time frame, they will go into warning. And maybe with a nice one here, I don't know, with the full one, they go from fine to, oh, there are too many. Here, right? So here, for example, we have a skill that doesn't have a warning period. So here we say, okay, this one is actually valid until the 19th of June, but after that, there will be it will be expired. So I can really make sure that I'm proactively planning rather than just react. That in 5.5 months, I say, oh my gosh, I have an audit coming up and I have a lot of gaps, and that's not good. Can really make sure, hey, can take my time, can see, hey, how's the world looking in 6 months, a year from now, what is expiring, what might be missing, and really start proactively planning. And yeah, this is why we have the alert list for. Personal opinion is it's much better experienced than explained. So if you have a concrete use case, can log in, say, hey, that is something that I'm faced with in my day-to-day work, and how could it be useful to get a really a good overview of yeah, how the world might look like in 3 or 6 months from now. Yeah, and this is it for the alert list. I think we are pretty good on time, 47 minutes. So again, any questions there might be, please feel free to add them in the chat. And I think we do have some yeah, common questions prepared. Oh yeah, and this is yeah, our support structure. So of course we have a support team that supports with yeah, ad hoc requests, and we have a yeah, knowledge base. In addition to that, we also have packages with customer success that basically really help you in growing, maturing with your skills management. And yeah, for the Q&A, again, please feel free to post any questions in the chat. I think it's always a bit I always doubt myself a bit if I don't get any questions. So please do not hold back. Other than that, I have some common questions prepared that might be interested. So yes, adding multiple results, I think that's something I have shown, right? This is a sneak peek what we do in the advanced training, right? I had a workshop for something and I want to add a bunch of skills, right? I see here, for example, right, everybody needs to know decision making, and we organize a workshop, train them all, and then we add multiple results. And then basically here, you can also, of course, attach individual results, and then in one go, I can add now 12 results. So fairly easy to really get yeah, data in the system. Then what we have is it possible to combine requirements? So for example, right, you have the job role of an operator, but they are operating in line A and B, and they have different requirements. Yes, this is also something we show basically on request. So this is the topic of combined requirements. So if you remember, right, we have set here we have a bunch of requirements for our logistics team, but maybe, well, let's go maybe with a job role, maybe easier. So we have our logistics expert here, and maybe there are additional requirements for the logistics expert that are operating the RT machine. So maybe then they need to have a first aid certificate, right? Because it's a particular dangerous machine. So we could say now we drag and drop the first aid certificate in the grouping of the logistics experts. And now I need to find the first aid certificate here. Now what we can say, we add the RT machine on it. And now what it does say, basically all the logistics experts, right, that are also, so this is not a comma, this is a big fat and. So if you have both of those tags, then you require a first aid certificate. And this is something we could use, for example, say, hey, with operators, with line A, line B, and depending on which line they work, they need to comply with different requirements. This is how we set this up, right? Saying there's a requirement for a particular grouping, but this only applies if you're also part of a different grouping. So now I could, for example, check out Olivia, and right, she requires the first aid certificate. Why? Because she is a logistics expert and operating this machine. So therefore, she requires the first aid certificate, right? Just the combination of those requirements. While if I'm looking at someone, another logistics expert, maybe Ryan, who is not operating this machine, he has it, but he's not required to have it because they do not have they're not operating this particular machine. This is something we usually not show as a standard in the training because it doesn't apply to everyone. But I would like to show you that this is something we could do if that is relevant for you. Yeah, and then last but not least, can a skill require multiple, for example, standard operating procedures or work instructions, right? That you say, hey, we have a skill, but in order to achieve this skill, you need to do have read work instruction A and work instruction B. Yes, this is possible. So we do have something called qualification achievement rules or prerequisites. And here we can say, right, in order to achieve this course, you need to do communications training and maybe have the wire and cable certificate. And now, if you have all of them, or maybe you need just one, right? All of them, then you automatically achieve this course. And this is right, especially handy if you say, hey, we work with standard operating procedures, and there's, for example, ABC, and you need to know these in order to have a particular skill. This is how we set this up. This is fairly easy using prerequisite rules. Yeah. I think that is it for the moment. So again, yeah, thank you for making the time, for joining, for listening. I hope nobody slept away. That was kind of interesting and useful for you, getting you a better understanding of AG5, no matter if you're already using AG5 or not yet. Yeah, you can always visit our website to book a demo with us. And yeah, I think Larissa will launch another poll. So I hope that you yeah, find it kind of at least somewhat interesting. That's a bit relevant for you. And yeah, and thank you so much for joining. And maybe see you in the next webinar, or of course in a full onboarding. That yeah, would be pretty cool.